So, Aamjiwnaang Vanessa Gray, Indigenous Aamjiwnaang. My name is Vanessa Gray. I come from the Aamjiwnaang First Nation. So, I'm here to talk about a little bit about where I come from and how that connects to what was mentioned before, the pipeline issue. But also a lot about how colonialism is playing out today and continues to do so, and affects me very personally. So it was mentioned before that I do a little bit of work with indigenous solidarity. So I guess land rights and indigenous solidarity is where I come from mostly. I haven't done a whole lot of animal rights work, but I just want to barf every time I see a Marine Land commercial, so I am in solidarity. So yeah, just a little bit about where I come from. Does everybody know where Sarnia is, first of all? A lot of people don't know where that is, so can I just get a show of hands, because I can talk about where it is, because it's important to know that it is extremely close. I just took the train here. I left at like 6 a.m. and I just got here 20 minutes before the event was starting. So I am on the border of Ontario and Michigan. So if you were to go to London, Ontario, and continue down to the 402, it would take you straight to a little place called Sarnia. And so we're a borderline city, well known for the Blue Water Bridge, and also we are known for a place called Chemical Valley. And so that is what I'm here to talk about. And what connects myself to a lot of people here is a pipeline. A pipeline called Line 9, just to talk about the tar sands a little bit, because I was expecting my friend Amanda and my friend Clay to be here today, but they're not. So I'm going to try to touch on the tar sands a little bit and how that connects to the indigenous people that live on the front lines of that catastrophe. So this is a picture I took personally at the tar sands when I went to the Healing Walk a couple years back. Oh, sorry about that. Never mind the birthday stuff. So that's where I kind of found my voice, was going to the tar sands. Attending the Healing Walk is where I met a lot of indigenous women that are speaking up against the oil companies in their backyards. Of course, I grew up in a place called Chemical Valley. There's plenty of oil companies for me to pick on, but I've never done it myself because it was so normalized to me, and I thought everybody had a refinery in their backyard. I thought everybody dealt with asthma growing up like I did. But going to Alberta, my eyes were open. I'm like, this is very, I don't know, recognizable. This is kind of like brings me back to home. But I'm in another indigenous community where people are sick and dying from cancer, just like they are in my community. And so that's where I started being a little bit more outspoken about these issues. So a little bit more about the tar sands, the belly of the beast, where developments have resulted in devastating impacts on First Nations people, but also everybody's right to clean air and clean water, because, as was mentioned before, we are all connected, and it just so happens that First Nations people have been targeted by the Canadian government and continue to be. And so we see frontline effects like high cancer rates in our communities, like you wouldn't see in other communities, because we're so close and so closely impacted by all of this. And so this is just a picture from the Healing Walk. So the last one happened last month, maybe no. It happened in June. It happened 5 years in a row to bring awareness to the extraction process of the tar sands. And so what we do is we walk around the environment where that happens. And I remember one of the most impactful things that stood out to me was the cannons that were shooting out all the time when we were walking all day, and then you could just hear these cannons go off. And the point of those cannons was to scare off birds from the migrating patterns going to land in the tailings ponds, because that's a huge issue for them. So it's constant. Birds should be able to land there if they want to. It's their right to, but they can't. So we're all getting our rights being taken away from us. This is the youth group that I took. Some of us are from Six Nations, some of us are from Aamjiwnaang, and there's one from Toronto in there who was our driver. So that oil is being shipped down to where I live. So it's being shipped through pipelines, it's being shipped through big freighters coming down the St. Clair River. They're thinking of every way and any way to get this oil shipped out of Alberta, but also they're making good relationships with the people living in Sarnia who want to create more jobs and economic sustainability in my community where I live. And so my people in my community have to suffer with the consequences of people wanting to be economically stable. The reason why there are 2 girls and 1 boy, I'm gonna change this. I don't like this either. Like, not all women wear dresses. I'm wearing a skirt right now, but that's not to say that we all wear that. But it's just an easier way to state that there are 2 girls for every boy born in Aamjiwnaang, because of the chemicals that are in the air where pregnant women are working, they go outside. There's refineries everywhere you go, and so there is a skewed birth ratio. And so this affects me very personally because I grew up in this. Like I said before, I thought everybody had a refinery in their backyard like I did, and I suffered with asthma attacks very often growing up. And I have a brother and a sister who also had the same issues. And these signs were recently put up back in 2007. Let's say keep out of the creek. So anytime you can go to the creek, there's a sign there saying keep out. When I was little, we didn't have those signs, so like we just got yelled at or scolded for going near the water or touching it because it's extremely dangerous and toxic. And that's the most fundamental right that any child should get, is to be able to touch water or play in it. There's not much to do on the res. So if there's a stream or a pond going through, of course you want to go play with that turtle, or you want to go catch some tadpoles or something. You weren't allowed to. I did it because I was obviously bored and rebellious. But not knowing what's in that water is the most dangerous thing in the world, because not all the time there's a parent there to say don't go near the water. There's no explanation. It's just a well-known fact to not go near the water. Another also well-known fact as a kid growing up in Aamjiwnaang is to not to go too far away from your home, because you never know when that alarm is going to go off. That alarm I'm talking about is the alarm, alarm where it's stationed in a few different places in south end of Sarnia and Aamjiwnaang. So if there's ever a spill, it goes off. We're told to go inside, turn on the radio, shut off your ventilation, and then wait for next steps. So there's no different alarm for how dangerous the spill or release is. there's just one alarm for all spills. So you could be in higher danger and you shouldn't be in your home right now, but you are because you just heard the alarm. And a few times we were evacuated because we were so unsafe in our own homes. So that is not unusual for that alarm to go off any day, any time of the day, any time of the night, and be worried about your safety. So some numbers I'm going to throw at you. 40% of Canada's petrochemical industry is in my backyard. And 39% of women in Aamjiwnaang have at least one miscarriage or stillbirth. And so where does that leave me? That leaves me with 40% of Canada's petrochemical industry, which is not fun. But also they are taking away and putting at risk my right to reproduce as Indigenous women. So one conversation I've had with my sister is, I plan on having kids. Do you want to have kids, Lindsay? No, because we are in a very toxic place and that would be bad for them. Oh, she's like 19 and she is scared to death of, first of all, the future, but also what's in our air, what's in our water. There are deformities where I come from, and that's not unusual again. So I'm just going to check the time. I have a quick film not film, but it's like a clip to show you. Okay, so I'll just talk about these pictures a little bit. This is where I went to daycare, that little brown building. And that's a chemical factory in the background that makes plastic. They are well known for their benzene releases. That's our ball diamond, right there too. We were given places to go get fresh air and exercise, but it just happens to be next to where they refine oil and where they produce plastic. And as mentioned before, I do some work with some taking back the land, just being outspoken about where we live. You didn't have to walk far for this picture, honestly, from our homes. It was like a 10-minute walk from where we live outside our doors, and then you're here. So, of course, we'd take some flags and ask some photographers to come and say, hey, this is where we live. It's fucked. And so, as mentioned before, Line 9 is a big project I'm working on right now. This picture was taken where the fabric is laid out on the road. First of all, that's Line 9. It comes above ground right across the road from where we live. Enbridge states that the pipeline doesn't come above ground within 5 kilometers of any community. So we're not considered community where I come from. So that puts us at high risk because this pipeline is extremely dangerous, old, and they want to reverse it and put a different type of oil in it. Puts us in extreme danger. That road, like I said, it separates the res from industry. So we're extremely close. That's where my dad grew up, across the road from that station. And this was taken last July, when it was like the 3rd year since the Kalamazoo spill, and it still hasn't been cleaned up. So we just want to bring awareness that, like, hey, you know what? This is Line 9. This is extremely dangerous. Enbridge also can't even clean up their own spills. Why is this okay? We blocked the spill. Me and my sister cut out. That's just black fabric, but we cut it out to look like an oil spill across the road. And so people driving by, we would stop them and give them some information about Line 9 itself, but also talked about like why we're here today. And so yeah, there's the difference between industry and the res. As you can see, there's a whole bunch of trees on the res side, and there's a whole bunch of pipelines on the other side. And so all of this, what I'm talking about right now, is called environmental racism, because this is what I grew up with. This is my backyard. This is my reality as an Indigenous woman here on Turtle Island, and this is continuous genocide, what slow industrial genocide, what the Canadian government and oil companies like Suncor, Enbridge, Imperial Oil, Shell, Esso, they're all committing crimes against my right to, first of all, reproduce, touch the water in my backyard, feel safe in my own home. And this is it. This is, I don't know how much I can talk about this picture because it says it all. This is a house on the Aamjiwnaang First Nation, and this is a Suncor refinery. This is not something you would see in, say, like Harper's community or backyard. This would not be Harper's house here. That is unacceptable for a white middle-class community to be living in this condition, because that is crazy. But it's not crazy to see this in Indigenous communities. This is what we're left with. We were displaced and pushed on this little bit of land, and this is all we have left, because we're literally surrounded by the oil industry. And I know one time I was giving this talk, and someone was telling me, well, you should go talk to Harper about this. And so right now, as a more positive note to leave off of, I'm working on taking back the lands, revitalizing our culture, and restoring our environment. Because from what I've learned in my research over the past couple of years, and looking at my own family, I have come to the conclusion that you cannot trust oil companies or white people who are greedy as fuck with money. So I am going to take things into my own hands, and I'm going to try to, like I said, I'm going to try to clean up our environment, because we can't trust Shell to do that. We can't trust Suncor to do that, because they won't. We've trusted them for this long, and look what happened. So I'm going to, I'm raising money right now to bring together a huge project that's going to take years and years and years. Well, right now I have a 5-year phase, and then I'm going to see where that goes, because we're starting with nothing, basically, because, like I said, there's no answers to what's really in our air and what's really in our water until years later, where they did one test in one spot and they're like, oh, this was there 2 years ago, just so you know. And that doesn't really help us right now if we want to continue working and have a chance at some sort of future. So sampling soil and water and fish, frogs, and living creatures takes a lot of money. That's money that I don't have right now. That's money that we are trying to raise right now. And so we figured for each soil test and water test, it's about $1,000. And you can't have a conclusive test with just one. You need at least 10 in one area. And this is just one area, one small area and one small reserve in the middle of a clusterfuck of Chemical Valley. And so I'm starting off with, where I don't know what else to do. So right now the whole project altogether, including documenting what we're doing as we go along, this next 5 years of raising money, testing the water and soil and frogs in the area, and making it into a youth and elders connection type of space where elders are able to give what knowledge they have on the area from what it was, and then where youth are going to take this now. What are they going to do with all this information I'm spilling out at all of you, but also about what those test results come up with. I don't know what's in the water, like you keep saying. We could get to next year and get those test results back, and then find out that it's absolutely too toxic, we shouldn't even go near the site, and then that's the end of that project. But in itself, there's a case there where I am not able to grow traditional medicines and practice my culture on the land that was given to me by the Canadian government, which is in itself is awful. But that's it. You know, that should be my right. Those are my rights, and I can fight for those too. And so, like I said, I don't know what's going on yet. Right now, we need $10,000. We have $5,000 right now. That was just donated, just to get a baseline of where we're at. And that's where I am at right now. Anyways, with my work, I'm going to the Line 9 blockade later on today to see those folks. Most recently, I helped the Walpole people downstream from us. There's a reserve there on an island called Walpole, and their water was recently shut off, much like what happened in Detroit, where people were unable to pay their water bills, and they were taking away their right to drink water and to bathe themselves because they can't afford it. And so I was helping some elders down there turn their water back on, and so now I'm going to head over to the Line 9 site. So I'm trying to do as much as I can, as much damage as I can to these companies and these governments. And I could use all the help and solidarity, support, positive vibes I can get. And you can you can be updated by the work myself and my group are doing by going to, I'm going to see if I can pull up something where I can just type it out. So if you want to take note of what I'm doing, there's a website you can go to. So it's www.aamjiwnaang.solidarity.com. So it's Aamjiwnaang. Solidarity. And so that's where we have a PayPal account where we're accepting donations for our projects. We also just update of what we're doing. We update you on like what kind of work people our communities are doing that we're in solidarity with. Like we have a strong alliance with the Anishinaabe First Nation out in BC. I try to keep close contact with Grassy Narrows in Northern Ontario, and so that list keeps building and building on who we're working with and who we want to help get their word out too. So it's a great website. I try to get this update as much as possible. Sometimes it doesn't because I'm on the road and I don't always have access to internet and I don't have time to check emails even. So so just like keep going back and forth with it, and if there's an update there, That's so great. I'm so happy if I can get an update on here sometimes. So anyway, I will leave also my name, because often that is asked of me too, and my email. But then there's also a group email that myself and others use who also do the same work I do. So it's asap1491@gmail.com. So this is like for like a group. If you have like an announcement or you want some pipeline events or something like shared like this, we have our own a database of like our own people that we share our information with, so we can pass it along. It's better than sending it's better to send that to the ASAP one, because I don't have those same contacts on my personal one. So just so you have both of those. And miigwech for your time.
Miigwech.